Hello everyone and welcome back to Whisky Wednesday. I realise I'm wearing this hoodie in like every single review recently. You'll have to apologise, it's just like the perfect balance of comfy and useful. Today we're talking about something which was recommended to me by quite a few people, so I pulled the trigger. This is Loch Lomond Distillery Edition number 5. It is a 2015 distilled, 2024 bottled 8-year-old whisky. It's one of 600 bottlings in a small batch of 59.1% ABV. But this thing is going to get a lot more interesting when it comes to nerdy whisky stuff. And those particular nerdy whisky things are as such. So I'm going to read this blurb verbatim from the back. This single malt whisky is distilled from 100% unpeated malted barley in our remarkable straight neck pot stills, where the spirit is taken off the still at a high collection strength of 85% alcohol. Michael Henry, our master blender, has opted for Chardonnay wine yeast fermentation for the addition of amplifying the orchid fruit and citrus notes captured during distillation. This whisky is then matured for 8 years in first fill bourbon casks, resulting in some flavour notes. It does state cask strength on the back and natural colour with no chill filtration. So this has been taken off the still at 85% ABV. Now I apologise in advance if you've ever done tasting events with me, because I always used to say that 83% was kinda like the legal limit almost, and it isn't. I have been getting that fact wrong for a couple of years. So the fact this has been collected off the still at 85%, and for those of you that are fans of the Michael Tour Turbo, that also comes off the still at particularly high ABV capture point, and it's peated. So high capture points seem to be a little bit of a trend for the year. I've also not owned a bottle of Loch Lomond for a long time. I constantly rebuy the official 14-year-old because I think it's just outstanding. But this whiskey is called Orchid and Vineyard. First fill bourbon, high collection point, high strength at just over 59%. Loads of first fill bourbon casks. When I purchased this bottle, it was £57 from Loch Lomond's website. They did not charge a delivery fee if you lived in the UK. And I think they had 68 left when I purchased it. I've not checked to see how many are left, but this thing is quite the adventure. Again, apologise if you are watching this and hear snoring in the background. I will try and get rid of it, but my dog is just very tired today. Oh, the nose is just like hot melted butter. Don't know, I'm trying to think about orchid fruit and vineyard fruit, and obviously you can just you can list those forever and ever, can't you? Think about this whiskey as kind of cooking your favourite meal, but outside in like a springy sort of meadow. There's lots of flowers, everything's in bloom, you're melting butter in a pan for your favourite meat or whatever it is you want to cook. So that butter's going a little bit brown. But at the same time, there's loads of sweet things kicking around you. Like someone at the same time is like making apple pie or serving it up. There is a crumbly pastriness to this. Again, that kind of leans into the buttery thing. Considering the higher strength and the youthfulness of it, it doesn't burn on the nose. It's pretty approachable. There's a little bit of pepper, I will say. It's almost like a white pepperiness. But some of my favourite things in the world in terms of flavour and scent are lemon and lemony things. Lemon sorbet, lemon drizzle cake, lemon anything, I'm kind of there. This has it just enough to bring you in. And much like the Ardner Merkin, the mid release last week, there is also an elderflowery thing to this too. Chardonnay wine yeast. I just want to double check it was actually a wine yeast. Yeah, it was. Chardonnay wine yeast. I know very little about wine. I've only just started to get into wine. And even very recently, red wine. I used to be like a white wine only guy. And I'm not sure Chardonnay wine yeast, I'm not sure what kind of flavour profiles that adds. If any of you do know, please comment below. But compared to regular Loch Lomond's, and I know this is quite different to regular Loch Lomond in many different ways, but it's just amplifying buttery fruitiness. They should collect all that whiskey off the still at 85% and put it into the first fill bourbon casks, because they could honestly conquer the world. Let's taste it. That feels like it evaporates off your tongue. I have tried whiskey out of this before. I opened this when I purchased it. It arrived about 2 weeks ago. But it just like, you put it on your tongue, there's not a huge thing with texture. Such high alcohol. But it just like rolls away. The spirit is still quite weighty. Like it wants to sit down here. You get these top notes moving up into your olfactory senses, which are, they are prevalent in alcohol. It is like a peppery spiciness, but it's very manageable. And again, the finish is butter, croissants. It's a bit jammy. There's like an apricot-y jammy thing. Brown butter, burnt sugar, caramelized, beautiful creme brulee things. Not tons on the palate, I will say. It's not exactly, it's not a whiskey that has tons of depth to it. The palate is more of your appley, peary thing, but think about apple and pear cider rather than the fruits. It's fruity and it's sweet, but you've got this kind of alcohol kick on the back of it. I don't think they made this to blow minds. I think they made this to say like, hey, we're Loch Lomond, we're really experimental, we like to mess around with a lot of stuff, and they're typically quite good with their experiments. This, much like the Ardnamurchan last week, is one of the buys of the year for me. If they have any of this left on their website and you can get it shipped to you, you 100% should. I've never added water to this. I will do to see what it's like, but in this sense I like to review the whiskey just as is. But this is fun, it's a little different, it's a little bit more unusual. Again, much like the Ardnamurchan from the week before, it's not a whiskey with a huge list of, it does this, and this. It has 4 or 5 things that it's aiming to do that it does extremely well for a very good price. If you like experimental whiskey, this is totally worth your time. I was unaware that they even did a distillery edition, so this was full news to me. But if they're all like this, then it must be very interesting. But yeah, summertime cooking with loads of butter and elderflower and lemon and apple. Beautiful cash strength summertime whiskey. I'll see what happens if you make a highball out of it. That could be quite interesting. But I'm going to give that, much like the Ardnamurchan last week, a nice 8 out of 10. It's a great value, unusual, interestingly made whiskey for not a lot of money. So you should all go out and check it out, if you can, of course. But thank you all for watching. Hopefully next week there's not a dog snoring right next to me, and I will see you all soon. Cheers.